The beginner guide taught you how to play Shadow Mewtwo, but this advanced guide will teach you how to actually play the character, meaning how to win games. I'll cover nuanced things like proper spacing, defensive options, and meaty setups. In field phase, you should be moving constantly. Shadow Mewtwo takes too large a percent of health when it loses one mix-up, so you want to avoid being at frame disadvantage up close in field at all times. Side Y, jumping Y, back Y, and sidewave blast should be enough to contain most characters, but some characters have fast linear projectiles that can shift you from full screen like Chandelure and Decidueye. Sidestep the crap out of those characters to get in close and jumping Y when you are in range where it's tough for them to anti-air. Just remember universally to keep moving. In dual phase, you don't have one single range you want to be at. Shadow Mewtwo does best just outside the range of your opponent's best poke. 2YY is going to be your whiff punisher of choice, and always be ready to 8Y jumps. Some good ways to provoke whiffs and jumps are with Sidewave Blast and 6X. 6X is tied for my favorite poke in the entire game, right up with Darkrai 6X. It starts up in 19 frames and has great distance, so it works well as a preemptive normal. It puts opponents into a lot of hit stop or impact freeze, meaning if you buffer it into Psywave, you can cancel before the opposing counterattacks, and almost all command counters can hit you. You can then punish with Vortex on reaction. And of course it converts into Psywave Slash on hit and can be cancelled into Teleport on block. If the opponent doesn't have a particularly dangerous command counter, you can cancel into Miracle Eye for less commitment on block, even though you might take minor damage if they release a fast counterattack early. But since Miracle Eye doesn't count as an attack, you won't get critical hit. 6X can be used whenever the opponent is walking forward for too long, or if they like to whiff buttons in neutral. Its main weakness is that it is a mid-low, and it can be high profiled by several 8Xs or jumps. Ideally, Shadow Ball should be used first, then 6X when you have a better grasp on the opponent's neutral tendencies. In the corner, against most characters, 6X into jump back is very safe on block and against most armor, plus it's hit confirmable. 6X into jump back leads into a rare helpless combo that does a ton of damage. I think Shadow Mewtwo's best defensive options in order are Jumping Reflect, Backdash, then Block. If your opponent gets too close, as long as you have a 5 frame gap or bigger, you can instant reflect away. Practice it in training mode by doing a move that is -8 and then immediately doing Jump Reflect to avoid 15 frame moves like Blaze Kicks to know you're doing it right. I'm not exaggerating on how effective of a defensive tool this is. If you can master this, Shadow Mewtwo becomes very hard to hit. If your opponent isn't quite point blank, or if they are meeting you with a jab or throw mix up constantly, Backdash is a great option. It has just enough invincibility to avoid most meaties that are single hit, as well as standard throws. If you don't have a big enough gap to escape, unless your opponent has a very damaging throw, such as Mewtwo or Charizard, blocking is a consistent option since you minimize how much of your low HP pool you lose. If your opponent is doing stuff with lots of recovery, or that you can react to like EX Heat Wave, you can teleport away from it, but that's the last line of defense. Everyone loves going on offense. Shadow Mewtwo's block strings aren't very long or particularly threatening if the opponent just blocks, but it does have some very tricky meaty setups where the opponent won't know when to tech, and some of them where they get hit even if they successfully break your throw. Check them out. thing, speaking of meaties, I actually left out one important move from my beginner guide, which is recover. Kind of a big deal. You can't just throw out this move in neutral because of its large recovery, but after combos, instead of setting up a meaty, you can go for a recover instead. Shadow Mewtwo's most basic zoning options and whiff punishers burn HP, so oftentimes instead of rushing the opponent down after a combo, it's a good idea to hold back and just charge recover while the combo is ending. Depending on which moves you end up utilizing more or less, your Shadow Mewtwo will be burning more or less health than others. As you get more comfortable executing Shadow Mewtwo's overall game plan, start to really focus on your health and synergy gauge so that you don't kill yourself before you get burst. Alright, that's the Advanced Shadow Mewtwo guide, and now your spacing will be better, your defense will be improved, and you have some sick meaty setups to open opponents up with. Thanks for watching, later.